I'd like to welcome everyone here today. I'm here with a friend and colleague, June Konopka, and June has a very interesting and expansive background. I'd like to read to you a little bit about her. She was born and raised in the Midwest. After college, she spent many years traveling and teaching meditation around the world through her affiliation with the Transcendental Meditation organization. Taking a break from that in the early 90s, June got a master's in Nutritional Sciences and began a private practice in holistic nutrition. She provided nutritional and spiritual counseling in a private clinic in Colorado, dedicated to helping those with addictions. Simultaneously, she became a teacher of Waking Down in Mutuality in 2004. She continues to teach the same principles now as a teacher of Trillium Awakening. She currently holds regular Trillium Awakening sittings in Boulder, Colorado, as well as quarterly retreats there. June's supplemental trainings in the Shamanic arts, trauma therapy, and the Hakomi method of body-centered psychotherapy enriches her teachings and healing practices. In 2013, she was also ordained as an interspiritual minister through One Spirit Seminary in New York City. Welcome, 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 June.
Thank you, CL. Thank you for doing this for everyone, giving all this information out to the world. I'm really glad to be talking about consciousness today. I really think it's really important that we all focus on deepening the awareness of consciousness in ourselves and also coming to that recognition of consciousness as who we actually are. And I suppose most of the world would think that, yeah, it's great to be more aware and more conscious, but I'm actually talking about something a little deeper here, where we're actually learning to turn consciousness in on itself rather than outward into the world. And I think that this is so important because we need to recognize consciousness, that it even exists, because sometimes, like a fish, we don't even know we've got water all around us supporting ourselves. So just first becoming aware that consciousness exists and that it exists in us, and having a way that, or a mechanism somehow where we can get really familiar with consciousness inside. And then in that familiarity and sitting in that, actually begin realizing its true nature as us. And then from there, we learn to rest in it and trust in it. And eventually learning how to even consciously create from that place within us of who we are as consciousness. So I really think that our whole spiritual unfolding and development really depends on this deepening of consciousness in ourselves. So it's a great topic to be bringing forward today.
Can you tell us what you think are the benefits of deepening in consciousness awareness?
Well, the main benefit I've found is a sense of this impersonal spaciousness, or this groundedness that grows inside of me, which makes me more able to experience every life situation that can come up. So that deepening awareness kind of gives us that ability to feel our emotions more, to try new ways of thinking, to experience different things, because it creates a safe container where even our creativity can get really wild and go to town in there. So that has allowed me to have a whole lot more experience in life. And even, and this might be off the track a little bit, but even shamanically, because I work with people shamanically sometimes, and with myself, I might go to into a past life, for instance, of mine or someone other person's, and we might locate these places or these deaths that were very traumatic. And by having myself just look into the eyes of my other self, or having the person look into the eyes of their other self, and let that self that's dying in that traumatic way just tell them that they didn't die. There's still a part of them that remained and is carrying on in the future as them. Mm-hmm. And that relaxes something in that person, and they're able to meet their death and experience their death. And there's a freedom of energy, and that energy can be felt in our current lives here. So there's a value, in just our everyday life here, and also in meeting our wounded parts and our even past life wounded parts. Another benefit, though, is that that spacious groundedness of consciousness creates a backdrop for us to hold all kinds of diversities and different opinions in the world, and which of course today there's a lot of. And so we don't have, rather than having to just take a real side and defend it and be totally identified with it, we can actually begin to hold all the sides and all the parts. And this gives us a way of being able to really feel inside what we think and feel and want without a lot of emotional reactions. So there's a lot more holding in that of differences. And there's also a holding of differences in conflicts within us. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have different voices inside going on, or different desires, and it allows us again to meet those wounded places or scared places in us with a lot more compassion and holding, so that they can actually heal. So that's a good benefit. And then another benefit I'm playing with now is just that how that groundedness creates a space for our own creativity. If we can settle in and really be present and conscious of what we feel in our hearts to create and to do, and in our bodies, then there's a whole lot more ability and enthusiasm and impulse and inspiration to do that, to go ahead and create ourselves. And we also get less attached to our creations. Mm-hmm. So that's always a good thing as well. So those are some of the benefits.
Well, no, I love hearing you describe these benefits, because I know for myself, and maybe I'm growing out of these beliefs, but it was more like consciousness is just, the benefit is consciousness. And, and that kind of falls flat pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But to realize it as this greater container in which our creativity can rest and then bloom, where our broken places inside, those places of need healing, can be embraced and then unraveled in a rather natural and simple way. I mean, I literally started to tear up when you talked about the shamanic journeying on the behalf of people for wounds that might be from a prior life, to realize that the consciousness can be the healing space in which even that.
Yeah. It's very powerful when it clicks. It's very powerful. And when you talk about the flatness of consciousness alone, without its sort of moving and benefits into life, there was a point in my life where I felt like I was very established in consciousness, but I sort of said to myself, I don't really want to live if this is all there is. It's like there needs to be something more juicy, and how this is actually used in life, and how it can open our hearts and all of that. And then things began to really unfold after that.
I love it. So doing this deepening into consciousness, do you think it's easy or hard?
I would say it should be really simple. For awareness to turn in on itself, and for us to be able to study it and allow it to grow. But because awareness is right here, it's right now, everyone has it, and it's as automatic as a breathing. Mm-hmm. So turning inwards should be simple, but yet people find it hard, and I found it hard in the beginning too. And a lot of the hardness comes from our culture, which tells us we want to be focused outward on objects, and success in life and happiness is going to be what we can find out there. And out there includes our minds and our thinking and our bodies. So we have to, it's a big thing to come away from out there to go in here. So we have this habit of focusing our awareness and our intention, basically on out there, and we need to actually break that a little bit. The other thing that's hard is that people don't teach us the value of it, so we never even think about going. Or we might have some trauma that keeps us very focused outward in order to protect ourselves. That will keep us from going inward. And then with my addiction background, I found that a lot of people have addictions outward, that their attention is outward, trying to find the focus of their pleasure or the focus of their addiction. And so going inward, doesn't really do anything for that in some sense. So it's really understandable why people in general might have a hard time in our culture. But I want to say this, that on the other hand, I've worked with a lot of people who've never even thought about or read about or considered consciousness before. And some of these people, the words consciousness or awareness or inner self, it really has no meaning and no value. And a lot of times they don't even want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Let's just get to problem solving. Yeah. And but I've found that they can easily turn inward and do this if they have the right instruction to do so. And it's one of the things I really enjoy, is helping people take a first dive into that part of themselves that they haven't done before. So I've always been doing that in my life, helping people take that first dive. And I remember my first dive was after my friends had all started meditating, and so I went and sat on my bed, and I thought, okay, I'll do this too. And it wasn't a real flashy experience, but I noticed when I went outside after I had done that, nature seemed very vibrant and alive, and I saw more colors, and I just noticed things that I had never noticed before. So I was a little hooked on what is this inward place that can help this in kind of development in life. So I think anybody can really do it. And in our times right now, so many people are knowing what consciousness is and are experiencing it and owning it, that I think it's in the human awareness now, in the culture to some degree, to be able to fall in pretty easily, more so than I think when I started exploring it.
Do you use any kind of a different process depending on the person's background? Or like you mentioned, people with addictions or might have a more proclivity to look outside. Do you use different processes?
Yeah, well, yes and no. When I first mentioned today, there are these different stages. It's first getting people to even know that something exists inside that's valuable. Mm-hmm. So that would be a level of person that needs to just hear about it and to be given little tastes. And then there are processes that allow us to stay more focused, maybe really find it and then be able to hang there and get familiar with it and get to know its nature a little bit more. And then there are people who often enter our work who are already very conscious and know it, but they've never thought about that consciousness actually being who they were before. Mm-hmm. I was like that when I entered this work. I really had been meditating, a long time, and well, let me tell you a story. Okay. Like, I had been meditating about 18 years, and I wasn't in this work yet, but I went to my first New Age workshop, late 80s somewhere, and the teacher, the very first night, she asked us to go around the room and say who we were. So we all answered with our names and where we lived and what we did and our families and jobs and all this kind of stuff. And not one person in the room, including me, said anything about an I of consciousness being who we were. And so this was the teacher's point, and she made a really good point that night, that all of us had left that out. And I had never really thought about it even in that context before. So that planted a seed. But then when I got to this work, consciousness was talked about a lot, and it was talked about as who we were. And it was talked about as who everything was. So I just like, whoa, inside. And so sitting with the teachers, I was getting that transmission of consciousness as who I was. But I needed a little bit something more. And that came to me through an inquiry. I'd always heard about the inquiry, who am I? And I tried it and it hadn't really done anything for me. My mind just tried to answer it. But there was an inquiry that just landed in me. And that inquiry was, what's the source of my mind? And every time I would think it, it would short circuit my mind because I'd have to go beyond it to find its source. And then it would be gone. And so I found my own way, and it is unique for everybody, found my own way to be able to hang in that at will more, so that I really could study it. And the longer that I would sit there, the more I realized it was me. And so that was a huge step. That's really important for our spiritual growth, to have that claiming of consciousness as who I am. So that was kind of a little background on my own. Now, the exercise that I wanted to teach you today, or lead you through, I just want to say a few things about it first. It's pretty obvious when we're going to go look for consciousness, which is an I, a subject inside. We're not looking for an object. And I remember in the beginning, I tried to treat it like an object. And that didn't work, because you can't find it as an object. It's not an object, it's a subject. And so you'll see, so we're looking for a subject. And so a lot of the meditations and such in the world that are designed to develop consciousness they're looking to get rid of the objects so that you can just sit in the subject, which is valid in a way, except that we can't just, the objects of our perception, our thoughts, are also our thoughts, and are also our body sensations, and are also our emotions. And so we can't just, they have their own intelligence, and they have their own reason for arising. And so we can't just say, get out of here. There's an intelligence to them. And I've had people that I've needed to meet those emotions for a few years before we could even do any consciousness exploration. So we don't want to say bad guys and get out of here, which some systems do. So I've come up with what seems to work, whether we're new or old in this consciousness process, of teaching people to not resist what is arising, teaching people not to resist what they're experiencing. And this isn't really a new idea. I just put together in a little package that's kind of unique. But so otherwise we can end up feeling like a failure if we can't get rid of our thoughts or emotions or whatever is happening inside. And then people say, I don't want to meditate. I hate meditation, or I don't want to do that. So what we'll do, more today is to, I'll just guide you through this and see if it's useful to you or not. If it's not, if it doesn't create a turning inward to your own awareness, then that just means that something else needs attention. So there is no failure in it. It's all information. Do you have any questions first before we would jump in?
No, I'm just excited to have us jump in. Only question would be just if that feels like an adequate introduction for you, if you need to say anything more before we begin.
I don't think so. I guess I just wanted to say that clarifying consciousness, or the deepening of consciousness, is important, whether we're new to the whole field or we're already awakened in many different ways, including in our work, what we call the second birth. That even when there is a sense of oneness of everything, like we describe in second birth, it's still important to go and spend time sitting in consciousness and clarifying and deepening into it. It only further deepens that onlyness, or that unity of all things. So it isn't just a beginner's thing. In fact, I used this exercise on myself this morning, just to sit in the solidness of consciousness today. So I just want to say that it's useful no matter who we are. And this that we're going to do will take probably around 15 minutes or so. So just so people know that.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to take my glasses off. So
Okay.
And I'm ready when you are.
And again, this is only one of several exercises that I use for people. Mm-hmm. Just depending. And so, but I thought this was most generic today, and so it would be useful to almost anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so so go ahead and close your eyes, and I'll do that with you. And just to prepare our bodies a little bit and our minds, just take a few deep breaths. And we're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, which has been shown to relax the sympathetic nervous system. It relaxes our bodies and our minds a little bit. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Our bellies rise up as we breathe in and fall as we breathe out, just like a baby. And I want you to add something to the exhale, which is a slight tightening of your belly muscles as you breathe out. You don't have to hold it. You just breathe in normally again. But just on every exhale, let there be a slight tightening of your lower belly. Still breathing out through the mouth. And this tightening tends to bring a little bit more alertness, a little bit more life force right there for you in the moment. And I usually do, I don't know, about 12 of these or something before starting to meditate. And so I haven't been counting, so just take one or two more breaths and then let the breath go back to normal, whatever that is for you. And we won't be doing anything to our breath from here on out. This has just been a preparation. And once your breath gets back to normal, let your awareness go into your environment. And see what you're experiencing there. Notice what you're experiencing in your environment. Maybe there's some squeaky computer noises, or someone in the next room, or traffic, or just see what you're aware of. See what you're experiencing in your environment. Or maybe you're aware of the light coming in through your eyelids, or the temperature on your skin. Or maybe you're aware of some tastes or smells. It's not so important exactly what you're aware of or what you're experiencing. What's more important is the attitude that you have towards what you're experiencing. And for this exercise, we want to have the attitude that whatever we're experiencing is perfectly fine, just the way it is, just the way it's arising. We have no need to change it or resist it in any way. Now, the left brain part of us, the analyzer of us, might come in and go, well, if I had a nice, warm, comfortable shawl, or if I could turn the lights down or go to a quieter room, it would be much better. And to that part of your mind, I want to say, guess what? You get to be on vacation right now, because we're not analyzing anything. We're not improving anything, changing it. making it better, protecting against it, nothing. We're just being with whatever is in the moment, whatever we're experiencing, and that's it. So just go ahead and take a moment and be with what you're experiencing in your environment without any resistance. Not stopping yourself from experiencing it, but not needing to change it in any way. And then next, we're going to take our awareness into our body and do the same thing with body sensations that we're experiencing. And the first place I want you to notice is your feet. And if your feet are on the floor, just let your awareness drop there. And notice what the energetic experience is of having your feet on the floor. Don't try to maintain a mental image of your feet. Just let them be energy, and they might get any size. Maybe you notice the hardness of the floor, or the texture of your socks, or just some energy tingling in your feet, or moving up your calves. Or it might be kind of numb. Maybe the energy is just kind of numb. That's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to experience the energy of your feet. You don't even have to name the experience like I just did. You can just have it. Feet. And then take your awareness to sitting in your chair, having gravity pull you into your chair. Maybe you notice that as a pulling, or maybe it's a pressure, gravity. Just having the experience. Nothing else to do at the moment, just experiencing that. And then place your hands, palms up, on your thighs. And drop your awareness into your hands. And notice the energy of your hands. Again, don't try to maintain a mental image of your hands. Just let them be energy. And maybe there's awareness of the fabric touching the back of your hands, or some tingling in your fingers, or energy movement in your palms, or pulsing, or some hot, cold, heaviness, lightness. Again, you don't need to name what you're experiencing. I'm just doing that to help out. Just let yourself have the experience of energy of your hands. No need for it to be anything but what it is. And then take your awareness to your breath. And notice your breath going in and out in whatever way you're breathing. No need to change it. Some people put their awareness at their nostrils or chests or bellies, wherever you notice your breath going in and out. And be right there with your breath. And you may also notice some thoughts moving through, or emotions, or body sensations of pain, something more painful. And that's fine too. We can just be with those as well. No need to get rid of them or change them. Not having a preference. And as we've been being with our environment and our body sensations, our breath, or any thoughts that have come up, you may notice that there's some inner silence or some inner peacefulness that has arisen inside. And if so, you can now let your awareness go to that. You may still have thoughts, you may still have sensations, you may still hear noise, but if you don't resist it, this inner silent peacefulness will remain. It's only our resistance that sort of has it go into hiding again. Just letting your awareness be with that inner silent peacefulness. Not resisting anything that's more out from it. And we start to discover that this inner core inside of us, there's a spacious inner core without boundaries, without judgment, without right or wrong. It's just an awareness, a consciousness that registers all our experiences. And as you sit in this, I would just like you to consider the possibility that this isn't just a place you're visiting. It's actually who you are. As much as who you are is your body and your actions, your thoughts. This is also who you are. Only it's unchanging, indestructible. I, self, with a big S. And if you were, listening to this again or something, you could sit in this as long as you wanted. But today I'm going to start bringing you back from here. You're welcome to bring this with you back into your life. And to come out, we want to first just start wiggling our toes and fingers a little bit, not opening our eyes yet. It's kind of shocking to our nervous system to open our eyes too quickly. So we start moving around, maybe a little stretching or yawning or something, since we've been so quiet. And then when you do start to open your eyes, maybe open them downcast and close them again. Getting used to the light. And then when you finally open your eyes, whenever you're ready, don't look at any objects, not even your screen. Maybe just looking into space itself. That gives the nervous system a little bit longer to adjust. And then finally, picking an object in your environment to focus on, and that will bring your left brain right home from vacation here. because it loves objects to analyze and critique and see if they're useful or not or whatever. And then you can feel yourself back here again, more fully in your body, being here. And if you'd like to say what your experience was there, that would be fine as well.
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, thank you. I really enjoyed this experience, and I do find that I'm sort of still deep in the consciousness piece, so bear with my words.
That's why we do these exercises at the end.
Right. Finding the way back. But I think what's staying with me a little bit too is just even that connection to the breath at the beginning and letting that part of the brain that wants to be directing, letting it be on vacation. Those set up a condition that, as you suggested, my attention would be just with particular parts of my body, or outside of me and then to me. It felt like each time I was invited to move my attention someplace else, it kind of gathered up with it that other that it had been attending to before. It didn't completely leave. It didn't just switch to another place. It's as if it was gathering more specifics, which then somehow helped when just that more silent resting as myself was very inclusive of the larger space and even the more specific spaces that you had suggested I could bring my attention to. So
yeah, nothing's left out of what we're not going to resist.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so interesting to find that, it didn't matter that I still kind of had gathered in the periphery, maybe, all of the other experiences that you had pointed to. They weren't a problem.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we're including our body and our environment and our thoughts and our emotions and even pain, if there is some,
right,
in the whole process. Nothing has to be left out. Now, there are times where I've done this with people where they, especially at the addiction clinic, where they were so emotionally upset about something or still feeling really physically uncomfortable. And they would generally, if they were physically at odds, they might just fall asleep because the body needed that nourishment of rest. Or if they were emotionally upset, I think it would be violent to tell them to leave that emotion. Let's go there and see what that's about first.
Sure.
So, and then next time we'll come back here, when that has had what it needs. So again, there is no failure in it. But it often, if the mind and the body, the emotions are a little bit settled, not worrying about some family thing or something, then there is that ability to find this silence. Because it is at the core of all of those things. Everything in the environment, in our thoughts, in our emotions, in our bodies, that's the fundamental core source of those things too. So there shouldn't be a problem, really, in theory, as long as we don't think they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, no.
It's that conditioning that we should make things better all the time that gets in our way. So I'm glad you enjoyed.
I did enjoy. And I really am also taking in, like you said, that if something had arisen that was more attracting our attention in a stronger way, like you said, an emotion or something like that, that there is just to trust the intelligence of being, that is what needs our attention.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not a failure to bring our attention, the power of our attention, to what is asking, what is drawing it.
Right.
So.
Right. Definitely. So I just have a little closing thing I wanted to say. For me, that this clarification of consciousness, I'm sort of been putting together a new map with it for myself in some ways for the future of that deepening of it and what it means. And so my personal clarification of consciousness right now includes the idea currently of some kind of Trinity, which is so fundamental across all the religions that I've studied of the world. Even in the original African religions, there was a Trinity. It's amazing. And so I've discovered that this awareness, this infinite awareness of consciousness that we're talking about, is also melded with an infinite unconditional love. And it's also melded with an infinite life force that's potentially ready to jump in there and create and do its thing, you know. And that these three simultaneously are there, even though they seem very different, maybe. They're all included in what we could call consciousness or source or our divine self or our soul or whatever we want to name it. And that they're all working together to create this balance amongst themselves in a way, so that we really can take on that role of creator fully, the way we're meant to. And I've noticed how they work, where the awareness, we drop our awareness into our body, and that enlivens that life force, and then the life force rises up to remove obstacles, so there can be more space for awareness, and then it drops back in, and more life force and more obstacles are removed, and it feels like this sort of cycle going on. And I think that ultimately removing the obstacles, especially from our heart, is what opens our heart into more unconditional love and compassion and all kinds of virtues that we might have that we don't even know about as time goes on, generosity, different things. And so this feels like we're moving, like consciousness really wants to get these in balance so that we can create, know what we want, know what it would feel like, have that life force to be able to create that, and the consciousness to hold the whole thing and let it dissolve when it's time to be uncreated too. You know, it's just, it feels like this, I don't know, just some kind of juicy thing going on here. And so that's kind of my cutting edge, is really getting those into balance and working with consciousness to bring those into balance, and working with other techniques to open heart and open the life force up, and then to make space to see what it wants to create, you know, as a piece of the creator here. So this whole process of deepening consciousness just goes on, and it's just not about awakening up to who we are. All that's fundamental first.
Yeah. Thank you.
So.
Yeah, no, thank you also for sharing this. Like you said, this is kind of your leading edge, your evolutionary edge right now of this, a kind of Trinity that you are actually, even though you found the Trinities in so many different spiritual paths, this is one that sounds uniquely you.
Yeah, finding it in my own body and my own awareness.
And yet at the same time, I can see how applicable it would be to everyone, but it's just like it's something that's being birthed out of your own soul right now.
Well, generally when people hit this work, they're or when they come into this work, they're more dominant in one or the other, or they have a desire for one or the other, and that's fine. And they might even be resistant to the others in some sense. But eventually I'm seeing people who've been in the work a long time coming into recognizing all three and wanting all three, to seeing the value of that. So.
Lovely. I would look forward to hearing more about this from you. It starts kind of sparking little questions and curiosity.
Next time. Yeah.
As well. A couple more things I'd like to say is, first of all, I really loved the way your diverse background, you know, early on learning TM and then becoming a nutritionalist, especially with a focus on addictions, and then your energy work, your shamanic work, and then the more recent spiritual directorship that you've taken on. I loved seeing how you have drawn from all of these different paths and modalities, and that was reflected in what you've shared with us today. You know, oh, I learned this from these years of meditation, or I learned this from working with these people. So it was really beautiful to see how you have kind of married these different paths, learning paths, in a way that has really given birth to a very beautiful teaching that is obviously in the Trillium Awakening umbrella, but is uniquely your voice. So I am very much enjoying.
Well, especially that shamanic piece, and I know you're into this too. That's what sort of woke up the life force in me.
Okay. Sitting
on the ground, and even like once in a kiva in the four corners, sitting in a kiva and having that energy just like a volcano erupt in my belly from the earth. You know, that's kind of where some of the initiations have really come. And sitting with the Pacos in Peru, and they talk about the lightning bolt. It's more than a real lightning bolt. It's like that Shakti kind of Kundalini shock. So I was always wondering why I was getting into that, and that was giving me that life force awakening piece a great deal. And even now I have another teacher I sit with sometimes who is teaching me how that Kundalini force can be softened into a nurturing, mothering energy for my heart, you know. So it just keeps growing and progressing. So I'm always incorporating whatever I need from wherever. I'm not opposed for people to do that.
Beautiful. I did want to mention to everyone that's watching this that you can find out more about June on the trilliumawakening.org site. All of the Trillium teachers are listed on that site, and then if you click on anyone, including June, you'll find that she's posted a lot more information about herself and what she's included in her life's journey.
And I have a website that's just myname.com.
Beautiful.
Another way to do that.
Okay, so junekonopka.com as well. Beautiful.
And always open for new students.
Great. And I'd love to also that you did reference at the beginning, you have several exercises to help people deepen into their conscious awareness, and the value of them for anyone, wherever it is on their awakening trajectory. The value of deepening in conscious awareness is really fundamental. So
absolutely.
Want to invite those that are feeling drawn to June to go find her online and then make a connection there.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.